U of O. Dr. Raywat Deonandan, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, first, Dr. Ray, we just got a release, and I want your feedback on it. It's, I guess, technically developing news here. Dr. David Williams has just released information that Ontario confirms its first case of rare AstraZeneca-linked blood clotting. Here's what it says in the release. The patient is a male in his 60s. He had received his first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine. He has received treatment and recovering at home. Of course, we're not going to give any more details. And then it's important, this is the most important factor, I should say. The case marks the fourth of more than 1.1 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine that are administered in Canada. Your reaction, Dr. Ray?
Yeah, that's kind of the expected rate of this happening, right? And we're going to see a few more of these happen across the country as the AZ vaccine is rolled out more. It is concerning that it happened in a man in his 60s. That is not the demographic that we were told to look out for. But the good news here is that because we know what the symptoms are and we know what the treatment is, this individual was detected and treated and will probably recover fine. So I don't want to put too much of a glossy paint on it. It's not a good thing when it's called VIPIT, happens, okay, and it's scary. But the good news is that it's still rare and it's treatable. And especially for an older individual like this, the risk of getting COVID is quite high, and especially now, the risk of a bad outcome for COVID is extremely high. The risk of the AZ complication, while not zero, is still low. So for this individual in particular, it was still the right move in my book for him to get vaccinated.
And I know that the medical community and even the politicians are echoing the same message as these rare, super rare cases come up. But it does beg the question: if someone has had the AstraZeneca and they get some what they think are mild side effects versus a potential symptom of a blood clot, what are the differences they should look for?
Oh, actually, I don't know that offhand.
Okay, no problem.
You can look them up, but they tend to be things like a serious headache or...
like a massive migraine, not a light headache from what I read.
Possibly. Again, I'm not a clinician. I'm not going to speak authoritatively on that.
Fair enough. Okay, when the chief coroner of the province makes an announcement like yesterday, it's kind of shocking. People are dying at home before seeking medical treatment. What's going on here? We're so aware of it. We're so aware of COVID, and that when you get hit, your first thing that comes to mind is COVID.
It's a brand new disease almost. The new variants have really changed the landscape significantly. So younger people are getting sick faster. That's the takeaway message here. They're getting sicker, and they're getting sick faster, and they're getting sicker younger. There's a lot of ers in there. Sick, younger, sicker, and faster. So it looks like the only solution is don't get sick in the first place. Really avoid being exposed and try to get vaccinated if you can. So it is concerning. The idea here is the route from exposure to a mild symptom to a life-threatening illness is rapid. It used to be weeks, now it's days.
That's the big takeaway here, is that if it comes up now more than ever, get tested, even if you think it's a mild flu, because before you know it, it could strike you down.
That's right.
Kill you.
That's right. Now, at the same time, if you get tested and it's positive, you're going to panic. And we don't want panic happening as well.
No.
But information is power. So the more information you have about your body and your status, the better.
So if you're feeling symptoms or if you start getting sick and you go and get tested and it's positive, do you go straight to the ER?
Of course not. No, you monitor yourself for symptoms. But when the symptoms start declining, meaning getting worse, then you should call the appropriate ER number and get advice.
Okay, perfect. I want to ask you about the banning of the flights with the double mutation, I think it's called. Is this first of all, how concerned are you about the double mutation and the vaccine rollout and whether we are covered for this?
So the so-called double mutation, it's B1617. It's not a double mutation, actually. There are 13 mutations on that particular virus. It's in 20 countries. It doesn't seem to be as hyper-transmissible as B117, the UK variant, which is the big baddie on the block right now in Canada. So I don't think it's going to be as dire a threat. It does, though, resemble in some capacity B1351, the South Africa variant, and P1, the Brazilian variant, in the sense that it might be able to evade the immune system and cause reinfection. We don't know. We don't know. What we do know is that so far, those vaccines on which it has been tested show some good effect. So I'm not overly concerned. Our strategy remains get jabs into arms, and that should be sufficient.
What are you concerned about right now?
Can we diminish transmission fast enough and slow transmission sufficiently to get enough jabs into arms so that this is the peak of cases? It looks like there's some modeling suggesting that we are actually at our peak in Ontario. We should start to see a decline soon. So we don't want to jeopardize that. So let's not open things up too soon. Let's not throw public health to the side and think this is over. It's not over, but we're on the path to it being over. So I'm worried that we will be a bit too complacent and take our foot off the brake too soon.
Do we have to go further? In other words, answer the calls for closure of non-essential businesses, or is the stay-at-home order as it now stands
Oh, I
going to
don't
get us
know.
through this?
We don't know.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things that helped was the school closures, frankly, in Peel and Toronto and other parts of the country, of the province rather. I mean, I personally would like to see some more things closed because the tighter you clamp down, the faster we drive the cases down. So make the pain short and intense rather than long and sustained.
I saw a number flap up on the screen at the bottom of the CTV News channel that said 30% of Canadian adults have now had the first shot. That kind of made me smile. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, 30%.
I didn't realize,
How significant is that?
I didn't realize it was that high. I thought it was still at 22% or so. That's pretty high. That puts us ahead of a lot of European countries. It means we're on the path to getting out of this year, probably sooner rather than later. Like we're not as far along as the Americans are, but we're not almost there, but we'll be there fast. And especially as they're going to have excess doses soon, we'll hopefully get those doses.
Yeah.
And this will be a summer of comfortable vaccination. That's what I like to think of it as, if all goes well.
I said 30% of adults, right? So it's not the population. We got kids next, 18 and under.
That makes sense. My understanding was 25% of the population. So
Population,
30%
yeah,
of
there you
adults
go.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So
what about that other group of people, kids?
Well, they're coming next. So I think Pfizer is applying for permission to vaccinate kids as young as 12 very soon. And if that's the case, we should be seeing jabs into kids' arms by the fall. Younger than 12, I know that there's trials being planned. I'm not sure if those trials have begun, but I don't expect kids younger than that to start getting vaccinated until next year at the earliest. So we probably won't reach herd immunity until the kids start getting vaccinated. And that will start happening later this year. Look at Israel. Israel, again, enormous numbers of people vaccinated, but their kids are not vaccinated. And as a result, their school public health measures are still fairly intense. They have a system called capsule learning, where the kids are in smaller groups all the time. And that's being sustained because the outbreaks that are happening are in the kids in Israel.
I just got the numbers for the province, 4,505, 247 here in Ottawa.
Okay, it's still high, but it's coming down. It's coming down in Ottawa. I think the modeling released by some prominent epidemiologists suggests that we're holding at around the mid 4,000s, which is not great, but it's better than 10,000. So to have peaked at under 5,000 is a good thing, and hopefully that comes down in the next couple of weeks.
And 247 for Ottawa, what does that tell you?
Well, it's still high, but it's less than the 300 we're scraping the last few days. So we may have peaked here as well. The wastewater analysis shows up and down, and the last time I checked, it was down, which suggests that we're still plateauing at a high level, but at least we're not accelerating anymore.
And we're going in the right direction, but how soon before we see the numbers dip below 100, let's say, which seems to be a threshold?
Impossible to say. I mean, the back pocket answer is always 2 weeks. We always say 2 weeks. That's how long it takes. But with the new variants, who knows? But 2 weeks is still a good thing to go by because we're past the Easter peak, Easter bump. So maybe we'll see consistent decline at this point.
Single shot J&J is on its way for Canada.
Yeah, that's a good thing. It's not as good a thing as it was for the U.S. The U.S. has a lot more vaccine hesitancy than we have, and they had a problem with people not showing up for their second doses, believe it or not. We have a problem with there not being enough vaccines for second doses. So J&J will be useful to that extent. However, as you know, the U.S. paused their J&J for similar reasons that we had restricted AstraZeneca for the same, VIPIT clotting issues. It may be a different mechanism, maybe the same mechanism, I don't know. But it is significant if we can get it here. It's one and done, and that takes care of some issues. But I am concerned about vaccine hesitancy around it, considering it faces the same challenges as AstraZeneca.
I wonder if some people may hold off on getting the 2-shot for the 1-shot, and then the bottom line is you're supposed to get whatever you can as soon as possible. But would this actually put a little thorn in the side, possibly the rollout?
It might be. I think in the long run, this kind of approach will be useful for boosters as we keep the variants under check. I mean, just a single shot boosting is much better than double shots. Mind you, the boosters in general are going to be single shots anyway, so who knows? It never hurts to have more tools on the table. J&J is a different tool, a new tool, an additional tool, and we can use it in strategic manners.
Have you had your shot? I forget.
I have not, for a variety
Wow.
of reasons. It's because I'm solo childcare at home and I can't get out of the house to do it. My spouse is a physician and she reasons that I'm so fully protected because I never leave the house. That but we're still working on it. We're working
Yeah.
on it.
Well, I told you I got AstraZeneca, so and I know my circle of friends suddenly everybody's vaccinated. I don't know about you.
Yeah, exactly. I hope all my family is, so that's a good
There
thing.
you go.
But I'm the last
Yeah.
one.
Dr. Raywat Deonandan, always appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.
Cheers. Epidemiologist